Hey all and welcome back to the HellfireComms playthrough of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The wild is before us, so like with any other logical being, we're going to do what a ghost told us to do and go visit Kakariko Village. Let's do this!
Alright boys, where are we dropping?
Anywhere and everywhere we feel like, Tanner.
I'm just gonna make Darth Vader floss the whole match until someone kills me. That's been just about every single one of my Fortnite experiences, minus, like, I don't know, watching videos about how, I don't know, their whole business system was working and then all those lawsuits for the dances.
Off to a spectacular start.
Shut up, Richie.
Breath of the Wild experience, my dude, like, come on.
Very true.
I like, though, that with Breath of the Wild, Zelda does keep intact that, horses are important to the mythology and everything. I mean, the opponent's named after, like, a mother goddess, so, this goes all the way back, that horses are important. But I like how in this game, how there's a whole mythology, like, spoiler, no spoiler, there is a horse god, and it is as cool as it sounds.
Uh-huh.
Never encountered the horse god myself. I do know that I had a few friends who, I knew about it because I had a few friends who were like, yeah, my horse died, and then the game told me where to go, but because as soon as I started the game, I plugged in my Smash Link amiibo, which gives you Epona, who is, I think, functionally immortal. I never had that opportunity, so good on you, Tom, for not just immediately cheating and getting the real Epona.
To be fair, aren't all characters in Zelda functionally immortal? I mean...
Not the horses. Nope. You have a guardian laser, shoot that horse, it's going to die. It will perish, and then you get the horse god is like, how frickin' dare you let this horse die?
I'm still waiting for, like, the Zelda game where they're gonna, like, throw in a little twist where it's, like, the spirit in the Master Sword Fee, like, is somehow connected to the spirit of the horse in some way. Just, like, as a companion, like, mega tie, and it just fucks everyone.
Okay, so we got an elixir already. We're helping people right off the bat here in the wild.
Oh yeah, there are side quests, like, all kinds of, not just, like, one big, long trading sequence, but, like, legitimately, can you kill and get me 5 logs of wood to help me with my dire strafe? And you just do it, and you get rewarded handsomely.
I like this shield better.
Well, yes, it's definitely a lot stronger, so it's recommended.
It's not just a piece of wood connected to a bone. It is a actual, has a metal surrounding ring and everything.
Hey, you respect a wood with a bone strapped to it, alright? That's how your ancestors got you to where you are today.
I think the horse kind of pissed off, so, whatever. Take the slow route to Kakariko.
Well, I mean, that's how most people will do it anyway.
Which amiibo got you the... So, no, it wasn't an amiibo that got you the motorbike. It was the DLC, wasn't it?
Yes, you have to complete the final DLC.
Okay, so then did you guys have any sort of, like, favorite amiibo tie-ins? Because I am a sad case where all the amiibos I currently have are still in a box of some kind, so I have yet to actually put plastic to plastic and, like... So do you guys know, like, what are some of, like, the choice ones?
No idea for Breath of the Wild, however, my 2 favourite amiibo, quite obviously, are the 2 Bayonetta ones, because of course. And hilariously, because when I ordered them, because of the way the game's online system was working that day, I accidentally ended up ordering 2 because I didn't think that the first order had gone through.
Been there.
So I basically have one set that is out of the box and one set that is in the box, because, that's the smart thing to do when you make that kind of cock-up.
So for Breath of the Wild, for me, my favorite tie-in has to be when you use the Ocarina of Time one. You can get Sheik's mask, which, when you pair with the in-game Sheikah armor,
oh yeah,
basically means that you get to play the game as Sheik, which is incredible because you look exactly like Sheik. And doubly down, they basically took the design in Smash Ultimate. They just took the design you make in this game with Sheik to use it with the Sheikah armor and then Sheik's head there, which is incredible. Also, nice shot, Tom.
You gotta love the tradition of Zelda of, oh no, we didn't make a Sheik. Quick, make a Sheik. Like, they did that with Twilight Princess, and they've done it again with Breath. Like, I find it hilarious, especially in this game where the Sheikah, as a people, like, they're profound in this game. Like, they're very important in this game versus, like, Ocarina of Time, they're important in that Sheik is a character. But that, again, that's like, it's a 90s Nintendo game. That's about as highlighty of a character as you can get. So, but like in Breath of the Wild, like the Sheik are prominent. They are very important. They have a distinct architecture, distinct culture. They look just about the same, and they can interbreed with Hylians, which, I mean, does kind of open the question, can all the races of Hyrule interbreed? That's for a later episode. But I think it's super weird that even with a game that had so much thought into the Sheikah and how they incorporate into the plot, how they incorporate into the game, that, I'm sure there was, and we may see in a future book, but I'm surprised that there wasn't like, here's my doodle of Breath of the Wild Sheik, Miyamoto-san, can this be in the game, please? And he just says no, and it just like shows up later in the future.
Yeah. It's fun just exploring, really.
I know. I think it's the thing that makes Breath of the Wild as engaging as it is, because even though this world is gigantic, I mean, obviously this is probably, I mean, I don't know, because I've not got the exact comparison with the Xenoblade Chronicles titles, but I believe that this is one of, if not the biggest open worlds Nintendo has ever played around with. Please somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong.
In terms of like engagement square footage, like I'm sure there's a technicality where like Super Mario 64 is empty voids or but in terms of like square footage of engagement, like this was placed in this area so that you would go here and do with it, where you would play the game here essentially versus just raw memory space.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a joy to just run around and do crap. Like, you just wander and suddenly, oh look, that's a thing that I can go to and do. And like, there are games where that can end up being frustrating because there's too much openness,
too much water.
Yeah, but Breath of the Wild very much, I think, because it feels like a world that is lived in. And that's obviously not many people are living here anymore because,
Did past tense.
Yeah, but it feels like a real breathing world. So when you just sort of come across something, you're just like, oh, this is a thing that is happening, let's explore. And it rewards you for that, and then you just get to continue going. So you could just spend hours and hours and hours not actually doing any plots and just sort of roaming around exploring the hills, and it's still just as fun.
Yeah.
Especially here in the field, too, because, I mean, think about your mindset when you're playing is that you've just done the plateau. You may have even, like, spent hours on the plateau. It varies, but you've spent at least a mandatory amount of time in the plateau, and then as soon as you escape, you have the vast of the field. The plateau isn't like specifically like right in the middle of it, but no matter how you escape, you're going to give yourself a good distance to travel before you're going to get to any sort of quest-like item. So, whereas, how we talked about how the plateau is just this very structured tutorial area, and then I feel like when you get to the center of the field, when you get to the greater Hyrule field, it's not still a tutorial, but I'd say it's like tutorial 2.0. It still hasn't given you like full game yet, but now you have like all these options. You have like this sort of built-up momentum of, ooh, I want to go there, I see that over there, I want to see what's over there, and so the field kind of gives you that catharsis. Like, now you can just go here, go there, grab that, kill that, shoot that. Like, you can just have fun with it, and you can just basically have fun until you kind of get yourself together to hit one of the like goals. Because that's the thing too, you look at how Breath of the Wild is structured. It's basically a Mega Man select screen. You're in the middle, and you just got to select which of the cardinal directions you're going to pick to go to, and then hopefully you finish, and it's just going to make it easier for you to do one of the other directions.
I definitely say that the true tutorial ends after you get through Kakariko Village there, because that's where you're basically told, hey, here's the actual goal that you have, and how you'll want to, go about everything.
If there's anything any Zelda game has taught us, is that the game proper does not begin until Zelda until Link gets whatever the official artwork outfit of the game said is. So when does Wind Waker start? When he gets his birthday suit. When does Breath of the Wild start? When he gets his birthday suit. When does Spirit Tracks begin? At the very end, when you eventually do get to unlock the ability to get the engineer's outfit back on, and then congratulations, now the game has started.
I don't know about the phrase birthday suit. Yeah, it's a bit that's a bit choice considering this game you start in your birthday suit. Hey, he's naked.
And waking up as well. It's super cliched, but I mean, I think they're kind of doing it on purpose. Like, they may just be saying like, oh, it's an homage, it's an homage. It's like, no, it's just really fucking easy to start a Zelda game with, and then Link woke up. Like, it's nice, it's easy, it gives you a starting point. But I do like how at least they played with it. It's not just Link wakes up one morning. Link wakes up one morning. Link has a dream from the princess one night. This is, he's waking up basically at an undisclosed time. That's one thing that's kind of neat about like his whole quest, is that this is a fallback. Like, all of the planning and all of the shit already failed. All of the successes gained at this point when you play is plan B. It's plan Z technically, and we're hoping it comes through.
And we have our first non-mandatory shrine, of which there are 120 of in the game. And, of course, Tom will be doing every single one of them, correct?
I ain't saying nothing.
Tom, if you don't do all of them, then you can't get the Fierce Duty mask at the end. And then, have we really played the game?
Is that how you unlock that, or is that just a callback to Majora?
No, you actually... It's with the amiibo. It's the amiibo, you get it.
Yeah.
Bit mad that we had a whole ass remake of Majora's Mask come out on the 3DS with amiibo support, and we get not a mask, not a Wrath, and not the third one's for amiibo. Like, that could have been a whole box.
Yeah, it could.
But nah, y'all wanted to put Duck Hunt in a box with the other two. Why? Still mad about that.
Well, they did make the Skull Kid statue, because they basically said, hey, we don't have plans for amiibo, so we're going to make a statue instead. Also, yeah, you nearly got it.
Don't like your tone, Tanner, personally.
Ooh, barely made it.
That works.
And what I like is that we'll later on get certain abilities that will just like make this entire like thought null and void, which to me, like, that's when you have like those good Nintendo like power-ups there, is where you can do the puzzle at the beginning of the game and like want to pull your hair out, or do the exact same puzzle with just a couple of items that the game sprinkle for you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what the hell was this even?
There's a reason why, when we get to the inevitable, we need to choose a direction to go. I would recommend we go towards the one that lets us jump high.
Okay, so so I've been playing Zelda 2, and like the second spell you get in the game is jump. It's just to help you jump higher, so that because there's a wall that's slightly higher than your jump to kind of block you off from exiting the tutorial area. And so I think it's just funny. It's like jump stuck around. Like Zelda 2 never went away. It just adapted and buried itself deeper into the formula.
Oh god, I'm having flashbacks to when I played through Zelda 2. It was not the best of experiences.
To this day, Mr. NTom64, do you remember our first little Zeldathon marathon there that we did on Twitch?
I do, yeah.
Like, okay, so he and I had planned to do, like, just the two of us, because, I don't know, maybe we were on drugs or something. We were gonna do all the Zelda games, just the two of us on stream, and we were like, yeah, this will be fun, we can totally do this, this was cool. Yeah, no, so, like, I grinded Zelda 1 because it's Zelda 1, so at least I had, like, experience in that. And if for some weird reason, I had the cojones to think that, I can play Zelda 1, I bet I can play Zelda 2 just as well, just as fine. Dude, I've never had a game kick me in the face and then just rub my face so hard into the dirt before. Just never. It's such a brutal game, but it's fun. Like, I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, worst game, should be forgotten. No, like it's a very valuable game, but holy fuck, it does not like you. It's a game that's like, it does not have time for your shit. It's very Breath of the Wildy, where like the world is vicious, the world is doing its own thing. It does not give two fucks about you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's easily my least favourite Zelda that I have played today, and I would not have managed to complete it were it not for the joy that is save states. Because, oh boy! But pretty much, with the experience I had, the bit that kills it the most is Death Mountain. Like, pretty much the rest of the game, this little bit here, like...
I was gonna recommend to Tom if he could climb up on the ledge. That's great. What a nice little Easter egg.
Nice. Oh my god, the pop-ups are still going.
That's the DLC.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have DLC that, you're able to access right from the start of starting a new game. You just get all the side quests at once, and certain things may or may not include spoilers to various things.
And there's Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Give it about 10 years, guys, and the children will start post something that ages you, that people younger than you, and it's gonna be getting all the DLCs in your game, like just shuffling all through right when you start the game. Like it's it's very iconic of just the gaming environment we live in.
Oh god, yes, and it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but it also makes complete sense.
What be here?
Great thing about with Breath of the Wild is that there's definitely a lot of principles of like land navigation here as well, with the way that they design stuff. Like if they put a river, they line it with treasure. They will usually, if it comes to a head, they'll usually put some treasure collectibles around the head there as well. I mentioned it before that basically at the top of every hill is basically going to be something, so that you're incentivized to get the higher ground and to kind of look around and to sort of set your own path around. But it is really, like, that's the other thing that ties into this, is that, I mean, you could make the argument that, yes, this game is empty. There aren't a lot of people to talk to. There's not a lot of things to, like, really see that differs it. But going back to it, the space is still very engaging, and it's very geographically engaging. So it's not like bloop bloop bloop. We put these 4 chests in a row. Like everything is kind of in relationship to where it is on the map, to kind of, again, to sort of like push you, to nudge you. It's basically ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy. But eventually it's going to get you to something that's glowing orange or is giant mechanical and glowing orange.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, well, there are people who think like this is like a big empty open world. I think it's way less empty than Xenoblade Chronicles 1, because in my eyes, like, that was the first time where I said, you know, maybe we can make these worlds a little bit smaller if there's going to be pretty much nothing in some areas. Like, I'm thinking of like the lower parts of like Colony 9, where it's just like, you're looking around and you're like, there is nothing here.
The giant swimming pool of nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. I was looking around, and of course I'm playing this on my 3DS, so that means the screen is tiny. And so it's just like, oh, it was rough. I would not recommend the 3DS version now that we have the Switch version.
No, I mean, that would be completely daft. Like, obviously, it's hugely impressive that they managed to get anything getting close to that game on the 3DS. Like, my word. But no, like, why would you do that when there's a perfectly decent Switch port to play?
Version differences are like a fucking trip, dude. Like,
I love looking at them. I think they're so interesting. Even regional ones.
And it's so just like, again, it's very video gamey too, because, you know, I mean, Richie, you'll have to correct me, you're probably more versed in this, but like, there's not like a million versions of Romeo and Juliet. Like, you know, you have a couple. Like, I figure if there's any book that has like a really weird like version differences, it's mostly gonna be the Bible. Like, not to be edgy the hedgy, but like really, that would be the book that I'd be like is the closest to a video game in that there's like 80 versions. Take your pick. But usually, like other forms of media, like you don't get this like high turnaround of let's change it. Like, let's make it now. Let's make it new. And I know that's mostly video games being digital, that's what facilitates it. I mean, you're right, the book down in the pages, it's kind of there, but, you know, when it's a bunch of files that are meant to be editable.
I'm writing down your quote that is, the Bible is the closest to a video game. That is something that I am going to hold dear to my heart forever.
But, I mean, you are probably correct. In terms of books, the Bible probably is the most akin in that sort of context to, it's probably seen the most changes throughout history.
And gets official releases.
And gets official releases of those changes, yes. Because, I mean, this is me going full literature nerd.
Oh, don't take too long, Rich.
I won't go too long, but basically pretty much around sort of the Middle Ages, the version of the Bible in the UK that was used the most was in Latin, and also I think like probably more of an illustrated version, because obviously a lot of people couldn't read, and they had to go to church for the preacher to be able to read it and interpret it for them.
Damn Gen 1ers, they need to get with the times.
Yes, although obviously you've got the original Hebrew, so you've got the Hebrew translated into Latin. But then in the Middle Ages is when you got people starting to try and translate it into English, so more people could understand it, and that's where you get the Wyclifite version of the Bible, and then eventually you end up with the King James Bible, which is the one that is the most common today, I want to say, but it varies. With the point you brought up about Romeo and Juliet,
if you're not in their community, you can just leave the whole version difference fight to them. Like, just don't even get involved. It's not like the Fate series where you can like peek in and be like, ooh, what kind of drama you got here, and you might find something fun. No, don't. Just let them let people enjoy what they want. Just let them.
So in terms of Romeo and Juliet, obviously to play, so there's in terms of the written text, there's maybe about 2 or 3 different versions that exist, but that's because the way things were written down in sort of that period of time were not the best in the world, shall we say. But because it's a play, it can be so variable in terms of what actually ends up on the stage, because so many different people can choose which bits they're going to cut, which bits they're going to include. Some people decide that they're going to, you know, switch round orders of bits of text, which is just like, for the love of God, don't do that.
I'm smart.
Dude, I love when Breath of the Wild turns into, like, the ultimate Lego experience, where it's like, it's Legos, but you could kill yourself. Like, this is, you know, like with Minecraft, everyone loves to make themselves a nice little house, but in this game, that nice little house could crush you.
Never mind, I was wrong. I thought you could just clamber up, but I guess not.
And yeah, just to finish sort of my point off, and then I promise I will be done. Is that obviously then you got the whole thing of people deciding where to set it, what to do with the characters, etc., etc. So there are technically an infinite number of versions of plays that exist.
What you're implying is that in the new Romeo and Juliet multiverse that they are trying to incorporate now with the re-releases of Romeo and Juliet, that like the timelines could all be, there are infinitely many?
Yeah, basically. And I mean, then you've also got to bring in the fact of there are a number of different things that exist that were inspired by Romeo and Juliet. I mean, there's basically 3 there's 3 musicals that exist that use Romeo and Juliet as an influence for its plot. You've got West Side Story, you've got And Juliet, which is the sort of most direct, but then also you've got Tootsie the musical.
Tootsie! Fuck yeah!
Which uses exactly the same plot inspiration as And Juliet, of what would happen if Juliet didn't die at the end of Romeo and Juliet.
Don't forget Warm Bodies, which is Romeo and Juliet, but one of them is a zombie.
So yeah, people like the Romeo and Juliet. It's quite a common story to pull from.
I highly recommend it if you're a Zelda fan to look into Legends of Localization, because it is the best book for, like, examining a deep dive of Zelda 1, and even examining stuff like the Zelda 1 board games. There's been multiple.
Wow.
So it's a really good book.
It's always fun when you have those time board games that like actually heckin' kill it. Like, I will sing the praise of the Pokemon board game, the one where like you have to fight the gym leaders, like fight the Elite Four. There's even like the whole Cerulean Cave with, like, if you've played it, you know it, but it is like actually a blast to play. And to me, it's like, fuck actually playing Red and Blue. Let's just whip out the board game.
I had the Dungeons and Dragons one for Pokemon, where it's literally made by, like, the makers of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a full campaign that you run with someone, and I ran it with my mom before I even knew what Dungeons and Dragons was, and she has banned Dungeons and Dragons from my household, so little did she know. So that's a good one.
Tom, I hereby upgrade and dub the Engineering Tom 64.
Nice. What does that even mean?
You can wear a hard hat.
Yeah, wear a hard hat. I don't know if you want to sign a couple papers here or there to make yourself feel important, then yeah, sounds like you got the job.
Well, I mean, you managed to construct that whole thing, so totally go for it.
Why is there so much popping right now?
You're playing Breath of the Wild.
And while I mean it does a damn good job, it's not perfect with this sort of stuff.
I'd probably cut the thing before I head off. Do I even have anything sharp? Rusty, that'll do.
Yeah, that would probably help. I mean, at least it's consistent in sort of the world of just like, well, you know, they've kept this hooked onto something, so it works.
Big gust.
I love how they took the best part about Super Mario Sunshine and decided to put it into this game.
What are you talking about? This is the best part of Wind Waker.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the aiming in very specific directions and stuff. You know, in Wind Waker, yeah, you can very nicely, like, you know, do your boating, but I'm talking specifically about just like shittily doing, like, blowing in directions and hoping that you can, you know, not have your boat fall over or explode.
I mean, well, here's the thing. Here's also going back to Zelda 1, because I mean, it's Breath of the Wild is basically just, it's the biggest callback of it all. But I mean, you get a raft in that game. You get a raft in your pocket. Zelda 1 Link is so mighty and strong. He takes this entire raft and puts it in his butt pocket. No other Link has that.
Well, it's like Pokemon. You know how they say the bike is a foldable bike? Link just gets a foldable raft, ignoring the fact that that is incredibly impossible.
Well, I mean, also, the whole thing with Pokemon of the foldable bike is it's clearly a little bit more foldable than a foldable bike, because most foldable bikes you're still looking at something that at least the size of the wheel.
There's also fire-breathing dragons lining the streets, but, you know, foldable bikes. And you can put the fire-breathing dragons into the foldable ball, but, you know, the bike.
Now, we could go by land, but I'm going to take this river back down to where we need to go.
Ah.
This is true to the Zelda formula, like, honestly, in general. I mean, it's also one thing that's super nice about how cohesive, like, the Zelda gaming identity is that, like, yeah, riding a raft to distant lands is not just a thing, but it's a thing that has occurred a bunch of times in Zelda games. So just always having him on a raft, just sailing away like that, yeah, no, that to me is just as Zelda-y as, you know, him riding the horse, is him in a boat, him... Honestly, that's why, like, I didn't have an... I mean, I also was a lot younger then, but, like, I didn't have an issue with Link on the train. When, like, that was the biggest transgression ever. And it's like, it's travel, it's journeying, it's a way to get from A to B. Like, that's Zelda 1 in a nutshell, is that it's supposed to make getting from A to B interesting and dangerous. Like, if the train doesn't meet that...
There's also Japan's train culture, which is like, you need to know that they frickin' love trains.
What's
to
not
the
to
point
love?
where
I freaking love trains, dude. When I went to Germany for a while, dude, the fact that I could ride, like, I know you, Tom, Richie, Tom, you guys are like maybe more used to this, but the idea that I could just get on a train and in like an hour later I was in another country, like, it was fantastic. I loved it. It was the best. Like, I wish America loved trains more because I want more trains.
Yeah, when I went to London, that blew my mind because I had a friend. He's like, "Oh, I'm down in Portsmouth," and I'm like, "That seems pretty far away." He's like, "Yeah, just take the train," and I'm like, "You can take a train to another town? You can just go like to a whole other place on a train?" That blew my mind, and they're like, "Yeah, it's like whatever." I was like, we don't have this. And so one of the things was, I remember back in a while ago, like before I got my driver's license, and I just kept failing the test because we have a stupid government that decided, hey, we're going to make it so that we can just fail you for no reason, that's what happened. And I remember like venting about it on social media, and some of my, friends from across the pond were like, what's the big deal about getting a driver's license? And I'm like, because to get anywhere, I need to drive. We don't have public transport. Our public transport is basically, you can get to from city center to the other end of city center, and if you're anywhere else, you're screwed.
The one thing so yes, you can get relatively anywhere by train. However, driving is still the cheapest option in the UK because
even if you get like a year pass or something.
Well, you can get season passes and they can definitely help, but like, good grief, train fares are expensive. So as great as they are, and they do an amazing job, I would say that probably Japan's train system is much more effective than the UK's, because if you speak to pretty much anybody in the UK about the trains, the main thing you'll get in response is, oh, they're always bloody late, they're always crammed, and also they're always really expensive.
But what is really up with that everyone hates their own public transportation? Like, law of averages, there has to be somewhere out there that you ask them, how's your public transportation? And they're like, it's good. Like, I'd accept just like good, but you always just hear people, like, everywhere apparently has the worst public transportation. It's like, is there anywhere that it's thriving in, like... and that's the thing, too. It's usually people that are, like, either touristy or that they're not usually from there that, like, can highlight, like, the benefits of it. Like, heck, even, like, going to New York, I find the whole subway system, like, fantastic there as well. Like, it's functional. It moves. The sheer volume of people it moves alone is a success story, in my eyes. But, like, you ask any person who's from there, and they're going to be, like, the single worst train you'll ever ride in your life. And so, like, I think that's just always, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like a self-image thing. It's just sort of like art, like your own beauty. Like, do you find yourself attractive? Like, do you find your public transportation suitable? It's like no one seems to have, like, a positive answer to that.
I think what that is mostly the fact of people who take things for granted. So, because we have those systems, it goes into the case of, well, this bit of it is annoying, why couldn't it be better? Because we've not really known any different.
I, too, could improve the entire city structure.
Yeah, so it's one of those things of you kind of... Like, I've never thought of there really being any other country where you can't just hop on a train and get to another city. That's just normal. So I just get frustrated by the things that sort of are just like... Oh, why can't you just do this for the love of God? But actually, when you highlight that, like Canada and America are pretty rubbish with that side of things, it's just like, oh no, actually we're pretty okay. I think the only thing that we are probably quite happy with in the UK and rub most people's faces in is the NHS. I think that's the National Health Service, for those of you who don't know. And, oh, that's a death. That bokoblin looked really evil, like full-on meat cleaver, red eyes, murder.
You did blow up his house. That would make him quite angry.
Question, is there a point in this game that you can see, like, the death counter?
There is the hero's path, I believe.
Does that show the deaths, though?
Yes,
that
it
shows
does.
your actual... Oh, okay, well, there we go.
just again going back, with the title screen and with the file select, limited memory means that limited information is displayed. So that means that they had to prioritize what were they going to show you, and one of the things they chose was the amount of times you died on your file select for Zelda 1. And they do it for other Zelda games as well. I think Ocarina of Time does it as well. It has the number of I think it's restarts. Like it's not fully like deaths, but So that's what I was just kind of wondering, because that does come back every once in a while, is that, especially just with Breath of the Wild, its start screen, its menus, or its whole, files, with no files. I was just kind of wondering if there was sort of a moment where it shows you all these. Again, because the game is a little bit different in its design philosophy of where, deaths are good. Deaths help you learn your lesson, as opposed to, oh no, we refuse to let you ever see that game over screen. No, this game is ready for you to see it over and over. So I was just kind of wondering if if they had that as, because that would tie into it. Then it'd be oh hey, 7, 8, whatever.
I mean, yeah, it totally makes sense, and I think, well, the fact that they gave us 3 hearts to start with after a surprising number of games in which you start with 6, isn't it pretty much every game from Ocarina onwards? You've started with 6 hearts, and this is the first 3D game to sort of break with that, or am I slightly off on my timelines?
It's one of those, if you haven't noticed, just about all games still in 2020 have what are basically 3D crutches. I would say Mario's ground pounding, Sonic's homing attack, they were things that they had to come up with because, oh shit, a third dimension kind of changes the way we have to find something that makes it easier to play in 3D. Just another thing too was I've also recently been playing Mario 64 because I got the All-Stars collection. And growing up, I didn't have Mario 64. The only time I ever got to play Mario 64 was a limited minutes in a McDonald's playpen area, so that I could run around.
Shoutouts to McDonald's Gaming.
Shoutouts to McDonald's gaming. But so I never really got to play Mario 64 till now as a grown-ass adult. And the thing it makes me appreciate the most is Z targeting. Fuck graphics, fuck how the game gets filed into the game, because that's how those games also change shit like that. But to me, Z targeting changes everything. The fact that the camera is the worst thing in Mario 64 is astonishing. It's a masterpiece, yes, and it has flaws, yes, but the fact that the top of the list will always be that fucking camera, and the fact that there's just no way to reel it in, because it's close. It's almost like an uncanny valley thing. It's close there. To me, maybe it's because I was raised on Ocarina of Time. I played a shit ton of Ocarina of Time growing up. But to me, that you can feel how that was what was picked up in the future for future 3D movement and camera and targeting. You can tell, even if they weren't inspired, someone had it's there. The sinews are there. The threads are there. And so to me, just Z targeting, I appreciate it so much. Just the entire story of how they saw what was it, a kabuki play where a ninja threw a star and it was a lasso. So the entire concept of Z targeting is just picture Link and Navi, it's a lasso. He throws it, and then once you're locked on, you circle around and you're able to control your distance or your angle there. And just to me, the fact that that's the genesis of 3D combat and targeting is that's amazing. I always like to go back to just that type of idea. And Mario 64 just really opened my eyes to that.
What a Nintendo concept for it to be how did we come up with this important thing that changed gaming? Oh, we went to a kabuki play, you see. I feel that's one thing that Nintendo does where it's where did the inspiration from this come from? Oh, something entirely unrelated to video games.
I think that really does come back to the fact that they weren't initially a game studio. They're more, it was toys and games. It was what's engaging. They made playing cards, they made other things, and so those had to be inspired by plays, had to be inspired by the art. So that's why I feel they've always had that window there